Hey,
Hey, how
good
are
evening.
you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Just woke up actually.
Oh, that's good. Naps are always good. Like that's the best part about this quarantine. It's like you kind of make your own schedule.
Absolutely. And these naps are amazing.
I love that, especially the fact that you're finding the good in it, because I do feel like there is some good. So I
Yeah,
really appreciate you, having the time today for me to interview you and chat
no
about
problem.
everything that's been going on.
No problem. And listen, and that's just me in general. It's like I'm a very in the middle person. It's like I don't know, no matter what the situation is, I try to find the good and the bad, and I just make it what it is and try to adapt. You know what I mean? But I definitely pray for everybody that's out there and hope everyone's safe. How are you doing with this whole pandemic and quarantine situation? How are you faring?
So I've been doing really, really well. Like honestly, it's giving me enough time to work on new ideas, connect with a lot of people, and just appreciate life. Like that was the biggest thing for me. I was like looking at things from a whole nother perspective, you
Right,
know?
right.
And I wanted to know, how has quarantine affected you in your line of business and work?
To be honest, very minimally. Prior to quarantine, I was like quarantining anyway. Like I'm really a homebody. The only time that I was really leaving the house was, for like big events, and maybe gonna go to the studio here and there. But I mean, m most of my work is primarily done in the studio. So if I'm not right here in my own home office working on music, I'm going to my studio, which is like 45 minutes away. So like I said, I say it as a joke all the time. It's like before this, I must have been practicing for the quarantine because you ask anybody that knows me, I don't really do much other than just make music in the house.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that, because I feel like a lot of people, it was a shock for them. So it's nice to know for you, it's kind of like smooth sailing and
Yeah,
that you're able to keep going.
yeah, business as usual. No problems here. And I think I definitely don't take that for granted. I appreciate the fact that I'm able to just keep doing what I do. It's definitely a blessing.
I really saw your catalog and I was blown away. Like, so I wanted to know
Really,
what character, yeah, I was like, what? Like,
I
what
appreciate that.
characteristics do you have? Yes, no problem. To make it as far as you have, to be this successful.
Um, I mean, honestly, it's funny. I was just talking to my mother. She had texted me. She was asking if she lives in North Carolina right now. She was like, "Oh, are you gonna come down for Mother's Day?" I was like, "No, I don't really plan on traveling much, with everything that's going on. Even when they plan on reopening everything, I'm gonna give it at least, 3 to 4 months if possible, just to see how everything stabilizes." But I said that. I said, "Listen, even though we can't be together, I said, just be happy this Mother's Day that you raised, a young man who's contributing to society. I stayed out of trouble, and I said none of this would be possible. Winning Grammys, plaques, all these other things. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for you.
Right.
My mom, she was a very hardworking woman. She was a businesswoman. But she made sure that anything I was interested in, she would assist me as best possible in, nurturing whatever it was I was interested in. So, when I was very young, I started playing the drums. So she made sure I took drum lessons. And then I switched to the piano, so she made sure I took piano lessons and guitar lessons and those various things. And I just grew up in a family that's like very rooted in
Nice.
music. So, like I always say to everybody that asks that question, it's like it was inevitable for me to be a musician. Um, and as far as the success, the business navigation of it, I always had like an entrepreneurial spirit. So, I started my first studio and I started my first record label when I was like 14 years old. And it was literally just a microphone like I had bought for like $10 at Walmart in my closet. And I really what it was is when everybody in my neighborhood here in Beacon, New York found out, oh, this guy's recording. It was like, every
Wow.
rapper that you could imagine came out the seams. So like, people were coming to my house and they were recording and the word just got out. And that's kind of like how I built up my name at a somewhat local level. And then, I went to school for business and technology, which is still kind of hand in hand with what I do. Um,
Absolutely.
computers and all that other stuff and just being able to navigate, how to make beats in the software. And I think what it was is I started producing when I was in college. And I always tell the story. It's actually music is the reason why I got kicked out of my college. I got,
No.
yeah, I got kicked off of campus. I had to finish up my last semester online, because my friends and I, all recording, they were all artists. We had set up my studio in my boy's dorm, so we were up there recording and smoking, drinking, acting a fucking fool, and security busting because I guess somebody was complaining about the noise and complaining about the smoke and kicked me the hell out, got me out of there.
Wow.
But it was a blessing in disguise because I finished up online, but in the same regard, I was able to start working, which was able to put some money in my pocket, and I was able to buy, some more equipment, which made me take the producing thing just a little bit more serious. And yeah, so like I said, the business thing, graduating, getting a degree in business, working in Manhattan, running around, climbing the corporate ladder while same time, managing artists and figuring out this music thing, it all just went hand in hand and allowed me to be able to network with the right people, which put me in the position that I'm in now. Then I'm very blessed and thankful for it.
I love that because that was actually one of my questions. You answered it within it. I was like, a lot of people in the music industry, some are pro college, some aren't. And that
Yeah,
was something that really stood out to me. I'm like, did college help you? Because I knew you did so many instruments as a child. It was like a passion from day one. So
yeah.
that's really dope to hear that you really was going hard back then.
I'll say this: I'm not pro college by any
Hmm.
means. I was actually saying to a friend of mine the other day, the only thing college really taught me how to do is one, how to interact with people socially within a setting where we're all trying to obtain the same objective.
Yes.
Um, I feel like you don't really get that experience in high school because you're not paying to be there. So it's a little different. You can slack off. I was a horrible student. As intelligent as people try to say that I am, I was a really
Really?
bad student in high school. Like I was terrible. I was like a C student, D student. I even failed a lot of classes because I didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? But in the same regard, I got like the fifth highest score on the SAT and didn't study a lick. So I'm not pro school, but I'm not against school. Same thing for college. I'm not pro college, but I'm not against college. It really just it's whatever fits for you. I do obviously, I wouldn't be who I am without it. So, you can take a page out of that if you want. You know what I mean?
Wow. Well, first of all, you're like a genius. Like, what? You didn't study for that?
No, I
That's
didn't study for my essay,
insane.
and I was high as fuck.
That's fire though.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm curious to know about, if you can give one do and one don't that you've learned from your experience being in the music industry, what would they be and why?
Hmm. Do do your homework. Do your homework, and that's the one thing. Like I said, I'm as an artist manager, I manage a lot, and most of my roster is getting younger and younger. And the artists that I talk to, producers, artists, they don't know their history
Hmm.
on the music industry, on business, on really anything. Like these 21 and under uh people, they it's almost like they don't care, and it's like that's weird for me because when I was 21, I had no business knowing about Gangstar and EPMD and a lot of these older rappers, but I did my homework because I'm a firm believer that you can, it's very cliche, but you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. So I would say definitely do your homework. Don't, hmm, I really don't, I don't have a don't because anything can work these days. If I can't tell someone don't do anything, I would say do whatever the hell you possibly feel and then some. Honestly, I don't really have a don't.
Okay, I love that. And I love the fact you mentioned the younger because I realize that now. I'm like, I heard an artist sing the other day that was 14
Mm,
online, and I'm like, her vocals is amazing. I can only imagine when she's like 18, you know?
yeah.
They're like taking over. And from being in your background producing, what do you think is the best way to get the recognition? Because you've worked with Cardi B, you've worked with so many artists, Hood Celebrity. So yeah, what do you think is the best way for producers to get recognition?
If that's your objective, because my my objective, and I'm going to answer your question, but my
Hmm.
objective is not to get recognition. Um, not in the same respect of like a Metro Boomin or a Jetson Made or these like I call them like celebrity producers, right? I'm more so looking to be kind of like a Quest Love. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah,
You know, the drummer from
definitely.
the Roots,
Hmm.
or you know, a Will I Am. Like I'm trying to be that producer that you know they call for documentaries because you like to hear what this guy has to say on the subject because he knows what he's saying on the subject. But I don't want to be a celebrity in that regard. But my advice would be, it's actually very easy to do so. It's you know just network. Once you get those good records, just continue to brand yourself. Honestly, you know, brand yourself, come up with a logo, and I'm gonna be very you know simple and straight to the point. Is like come up with that bag and pay for a PR person. It's very simple, and you'll get all the recognition that you can desire for. And the bigger the records that you can work on, and the bigger placements that you can get, the easier that's going to be. I mean, hell, you won't even have to possibly hire a PR person. It might just come at that point. You know what I mean?
That's fire. And you know, it's speaking of like Cardi B and other artists and things of that nature, how exactly did you meet Cardi B? And it's really cool to hear how humble you are and that that's not even what you were trying to do in life. Like that's so epic to me.
It's weird. That is kind of weird. And honestly, I say it's fate, obviously, but it's a lot of luck also. Like it's completely random. It's not one of those things that I could have ever planned for. I mean, it's weird you say that because I sit back and I try to analyze that all the time. It's like, could this have happened any other way? Would it have been possible? And it's like, you know, realistically, that's why I say there's a little luck involved because I was working very hard at the time. And there was a point in my life, and I would say it was like right around my sophomore year in college. I was on everything moving. I was, you know, I had went out and bought a camera, and I wasn't just a because I was a rapper at first before I was a producer. I'd never made a beat
Hmm.
a day in my life, so I was a rapper. I was trying to feature with everybody that was, you know, in the 30-mile radius of me. I was tapping into all of my connections from when I was living in North Carolina. I was running around. I was filming other people's music videos. Then I said, "Fuck it, I'm a DJ," and I started doing interviews. And I was on everything moving. So I was like, the way I was playing the numbers game, it was virtually impossible for something to not hit. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
Now, the fate and the luck is that, okay, I bumped into a friend of mine who was working on her very first mixtape, very first song ever. And I
Mhm.
had sent this person beats. And about a year later, I get a call from Cardi's manager at the time. He's like, "Hey, did you make this beat?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." He played it over the phone. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's my beat." He was like, "Okay, you
Mhm.
know, how much do you want for it? Whatever, whatever." Well, who's it for? And he said her name, and I was like, Cardi B. I was like, I don't know who that is, but cool, yeah. And I, you know, I gave him my price, whatever, and I got off the
Mhm.
phone and I looked it up, and I found, you know, this crazy, hilarious stripper. I think she had maybe like 300,000 followers at the time, and
Wow.
for me, that was still a big deal. That was the biggest person I had worked with on a production level. So I was like, oh wow. So I showed my production partner who helped me make the beat, and he also helped produce Get Up 10 on her album Invasion of Privacy. So at the time, but at the time, I was like, yo, look at this chick. She has 300,000 followers. We just got a beat with her, bro. He's like, oh yeah, that's dope. He was like, yeah, I think I've seen people share her on like, I think I saw a girl share her on her page. She's mad funny, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, well, I guess we got a song with her. So they released the song, they shot the video, and it was the first song that she had ever recorded and ever dropped. It was called What's Poppin'. And then from there, I stayed in very close contact with her manager at the time, Shaf, and you know, he was like, "Oh yeah, we're working on her next joint. You know, just keep sending me joints. We're looking for tons of tracks." So I was sending in tracks. She was recording some of them. A lot of them didn't get released. But then we got another placement with her on her second mixtape, Gangsta Bitch Music Volume 2.
Mhm.
We did the record with her, Hood Celebrity, and Conscience, and we were like, "Whoa, we got a record with Conscience and Hood Celebrity!" Like, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, and from there we continued to harbor our relationship, and then there came a point where I was still working with them. They would invite me to like music videos when she was shooting all her music videos. This was before Bodak Yellow.
Hmm.
Um, and there came a point in my personal life where, like I said, I was still like that college swanko where I was on everything moving. I was working full time. I was an executive. I was a part of the executive management staff at a healthcare company. And I mean, so like I'm living that 9 to 5 life full time. Um, and I'm like, at the time, oh, hold on, I think my AirPod's about to die. Sorry.
Oh no, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
working full time, corporate swag, but literally at night I'm going home and I'm shooting music videos. I happen to manage another artist, Sage English, at that time, so I'm working with him in the studio, getting his album right. Uh, helping set up, get whatever work I can for him. I was working with Partisan Fontaine. I was like his personal videographer. I was literally traveling the country with him. We're going to LA. I'm shooting vlog footage with him in LA, backstage at Bryson Tiller's concert while still working. And I mean more than a 9 to 5 because I was executive
Wow.
staff. So my work is coming home with me. I'm literally on a flight to LA or in a suburban with 50 blunts going around answering emails at my job type of thing. Um, so yeah, doing all that while working, and I literally, and I love this story. So I got an opportunity to go on the DJ Khaled cruise. A very good friend of mine and my
Mhm.
business partner now, David Green. He he said, "Listen, I want you to go on this." He was like, "My spirit's telling me this is going to be a good look for you." He was like, "I want you to go on this DJ Khaled cruise and do your thing. Go out there, network." Little did he know that it was like a freaking crazy ass party. It was ridiculous. So we went on this cruise, my production partner and I, in Miami. We're on a
Mhm.
cruise with DJ Khaled, Migos, um,
Wow.
ASAP Rocky, all these different people. You got football players up there, Kent Jones. You got tons of people up there. Had a great time. Came back the next day. I'm in my office. Came in very early, like I always do, and I'm having my coffee in my office, and I'm like, nah, this 9 to 5 life's got to stop. Like I'm a full creative. I don't need these people. I'm like I have been saving up my money. Like I don't care if So me and my job separated. I wasn't even mad. I wasn't I wasn't scared, anything like that. I said I'm about to put my back against the wall and I'm gonna hustle. And literally, as I'm leaving from my job that day, basically never coming back, I made
Yeah.
a I made a call to Cardi's manager at the time just to let him know because we always used to talk. He's like, "Oh, we got to get in the studio, oh, come down for this video." So give him a call. I say, "Yo, listen, I'm not working anymore. I'm about to be full time, just out here, videographer. I'm about to have my studio open full time to the public. We're about to be taking sessions, etc., etc." He was like, "Oh, come down, talk to me." Went down, talked to him, and this was right when Bodak Yellow dropped. It wasn't hot yet. It just
Okay.
dropped. So I go down, I talk to him. He tells me everything that's going on, and he's like, "Yo, just stick around, run around with us." So run around with Cardi, and literally watching firsthand Bodak Yellow do this.
Mhm. That's so dope.
Right, the real pinnacle for me was when we did the Puerto Rican Day Parade on the La Mega float, and they just played Bodak Yellow on repeat, and everybody at the parade knew it. I said, "Holy shit! I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing." Like, right? So that's my Cardi B story. I was literally right there from when the blow up really started to happen.
That is so dope. And I just want to let you know, What's Poppin' was one of my favorite songs. Like the second it dropped, and I remember telling my friend, I was like, yo, this song is so good. And it was looking at me like, I didn't know you listened to hip hop like this. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I do. So I'm so happy to know that you're the person who made What's Poppin',
Yeah.
like come to life. And it's interesting that you went into that full story because I was always wondering, like, people who worked with her in the beginning, did you guys have any idea she was going to be that big, you know?
I will never ever lie a day in my life. I think I've even said this to her, and I have no problem saying it. I did not, in a million years, think that we would be where we are today when I first started working on her music. I never would have thought.
Exactly. And I love how you said that because especially watching on Love and Hip Hop, I used to sit there and used to be like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. I can't tell. Like when I used to watch the show, can't tell. Like when I used to watch the show, I really didn't know she was gonna like blow.
Blow,
So
blow.
yeah, like for
Yeah,
real, for real.
yeah,
One of the things I realized on the Invasion of Privacy album, you've done so much record engineering, producing, like you have credits everywhere,
yeah,
even arranging.
yeah.
So I'm really curious to know for you, what was your experience like doing all three? And was there ever a point in your career where you were like, okay, I know I'm doing this, but I want to do this? Like, how do you elevate without coming off too aggressive, but you also got to say what you want, you know?
it it just, that's the thing, it happened naturally. Like I said, I have that entrepreneurial spirit, and with that, also, like I said, the one thing, so I didn't list the other thing that college gave me. It
Okay.
gave me the experience with how to network and socially maneuver with people that are all trying to, get to the same goal, basically how to work on a team. But the second thing that college gave me, and this might sound a little understated, but it taught me how to learn, right?
Mm,
Now, what do I mean by that is like your average person, they don't really know how to learn, and they don't have that ability, they don't have that drive to learn, right? So, perfect example, college taught me how to basically read a recipe, whether it be a recipe to actually cook something or a walkthrough on how to do something, whether it be, you want to learn how to make your own wig or learn how to make your own pillow or things like that. Like college taught me how to, one, be able to research effectively and how to read those and get to my end goal in the way that I want to get to it. So with that being said, throughout my whole musical experience, as from young up until now, I've always been a tutorial person. Like, okay, I want to know how to do this. Damn, how do I get this to sound like that shit on the radio? All right, look it up. Research, research, research. And through doing that, I put myself through YouTube college on how to be an engineer. I put myself through YouTube college on how to be a rapper. I put myself through
nice.
YouTube college on how to be a producer, on how to be a business manager, on how to be a PR person, on how to be, you know what I'm saying? So I acquired all these skills and knowledge. So by the time I was at an age where I would have to apply it, it was nothing. It was easy. It was simple. It wasn't a conversation of, hey, I can also do this. It was like, oh yeah, no, I made that beat. Oh yeah, I mixed it and mastered it too. Hey, I don't really like how your vocals sound on this. I think you need a little bit less in your 50K area, so it was all just natural. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
That's fire. And I love the fact you mentioned that because you did say that you were doing videography with Partisan Fontaine. And for you to be able to do so many different type of skills, this totally makes sense. You had to learn it from scratch, everything.
Everything.
And for you, winning a Grammy, like all of these things are so huge. What was your reaction like when you also found out like Cardi's album was three times multi-platinum, all of these emotions? What were they for
Um,
you?
it was, honestly, it was just nothing but thankfulness and gratefulness. And I don't want to come off as like cocky at all, but
Mm.
I really don't. But my entire life I have been like groomed to do these types of things. So you get to a certain point where you just sit back and you just say thank God, like I appreciate it, and it's a beautiful thing. But specifically for the Grammy thing, I happen to be so caught up in the grind when that happened that it was almost like if I had to put it in like a movie scene, I was in the studio making a beat and someone was like, yo, she won. I was like, oh, that's dope. Right back to the beat type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's all just starting to connect with me now. Like, yo, bro, like you are part of a Grammy winning album, bro. Like you're a multi-platinum recording record producer. And it's like, I am. Like that's it's fucking dope. Like I really just, at this point though, I just want to be able to inspire and give back. That's really what it comes down to me. I want to be able to use what I have, use the platform, use the connections, use the accreditations that I have to be able to help people who I feel maybe wouldn't have that chance if I don't help them. You understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do love that because I think a lot of people don't give back. And I think sometimes it's all about them. They focus on their accolades, but they forget that, hey, you were going through a journey at some point. There was a process for you, some difficulty, somebody lent a hand. So I do appreciate you doing that. Like even this, like I really appreciate this as well.
Yeah.
Uh, And you know, it's interesting that you said you were groomed for this from day one. And I think, especially with your story about having a 9 to 5 and leaving, that's like a perfect example of how you always knew what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Did you ever have at any point any hesitation, like, oh my God, I just left the job? Like, what was that like? Because I actually experienced leaving too. Like, what was that for you?
Nah, I knew. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hmm.
Business was booming so crazy on the side. Like I was, it was crazy the amount of money I was making between working and doing the videography and doing the mixing and mastering and producing and having a studio. Like I was like, I don't need to be doing this. Like I'm being greedy almost is how I felt. Like it's like I gotta cut something off, and I would much rather cut off what's holding me back from, basically making my own dollar. And I told myself there is a possibility that I could fail, but I said I'd much rather be homeless and living out of my car knowing that I'm trying to put myself on. You understand what I'm saying? Rather than comfortably sitting behind a desk and accepting the next man's money off of, an idea that they came up with versus this is my shit. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm getting money off it.
Absolutely. And you know, that makes sense because I saw that you created your own independent record label. And knowing how successful you already are, I was like really amazed by that. So, what was the idea behind that?
That started naturally as well. A lot of the stuff in my life was not forced, and I'm big on that. That's the one thing that I say to a lot of people that I've mentored over the years, a lot of people that look to me for guidance. I say, you know, and it's again one of those cliche things. It's like when it's not work if you're doing what you love, right? if if you are forcing yourself to do something, you might be able to succeed at it depending on what type of person you are. But forcing something versus shit just organically happening, it's always going to feel better, it's always going to be easier, and it's always going to give you peace. So as far as the whole record label thing goes, like I said, I
Hmm.
bought a very cheap microphone. I had it set up in my crib at my mom's house when I was very young, probably like 14, 13 years old. I was recording, people were
Hmm.
coming over, and the natural businessman inside of me said, well, I might as well be able to profit off of what I'm giving these people. I'm giving these people something that they don't have access to. I
Hmm.
can't, and I'm doing it for free. I need to be able to get compensated in some way. At that time, it was like, yo, you say you're a part of, it was called Get Money Records, is what I was calling it. It's like, yo, if you get down with Get Money Records, you get free studio time, but you got to say it on every track. That way, that name gets out there, and then people associate, the Swags was my name at the time. Swags and Get Money Records. Boom, 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 boom. So that morphed from me finding this young, extremely talented rapper in my area. And he's very similar to me because what really stood out to me was not just his rap skills, which were superior, but the dude's album covers at the time, this is like what, 2005, I think, or something like that. I'm like, yo, his album covers look professional. Like, what kind of camera does he have? So I approached him, very young dude. I think he was like 3 years younger than me, so he had to be like 12, 13. And I'm like, how do you get, who's doing these covers for you, bro? He's like, I do it myself. I'm like, word?
Nice.
He was like, yeah, he was like, I got, my mom bought me this camera for Christmas. He's like, I take my own pictures and I know how to edit. I use Photoshop. So I'm like, yo, you get down. I was like, you got a studio? He was like, nah. He's like, I go record at XYZ. I was like, nah. I was like, yo, I got a microphone. I was like, and I'm trying to make these beats or whatever. He's like, you do the album cover and the artwork and the Photoshop. I'll handle the mix, the master. I got auto tune. That's the other thing. I was one of the only people back then, as far as like local studios, I had auto tune. I had auto tune before like the big studios had auto tune. I'll be honest with you.
No
That's how much
way.
that's how much of a nerd I am. I was like, yo, how does T-Pain do this? I spent weeks researching it, finally found it, finally cracked it. So I was one of the first people with auto-tune. I said, yo, I got studio, I got auto-tune, you got camera, Photoshop. We come together and we're now a unstoppable force. And the guy's name is Sage English. Sage English. From that moment, me and him were an unstoppable force. He went on to become one of the best videographers coming out of New York right now. He's pretty much done the last like four Partisan Fontaine music videos. He went on tour with Ryan Leslie.
Wow.
He's been making big waves. He does a lot of vlog stuff for ASAP Ferg. Um That's my guy, and he's also a phenomenal rapper. And just like when he was 16 years old, I handle the mix, the master, the production. He handles the artwork, the music videos, the etc. We come together, we put our creative minds, and that's what we're doing.
No, that's so dope. And I definitely feel like that's so huge because the thing is, when you start off, you always want to spread, as many places as you can, work with as many artists as possible. I think it's so cool that everything's organic for you specifically.
Yeah.
And one thing, working with the amount of artists that you work with, whether it's Sage, Cardi, Partisan, what is one thing you feel like everyone has in common that's in your circle?
Um, speaking honestly, it's the creative mindset. That's really where Partisan and I clicked. The same way that Sage and I clicked. Actually, you know what? I just found the
Mhm.
common theme. We're all do-it-yourself people. Partisan, when he was in the very early stages of his career, he was recording himself.
Mm,
He was shooting and editing his own music videos,
fire.
shooting and editing his own album artwork and any of his promo marketing material. He was doing all that stuff himself. So naturally, and we didn't know why at the time, but when you meet another person that's like that, the way you exchange ideas and the way you watch that person's mind work, you just naturally are attracted to it. And then obviously through conversation, you figure out, oh, that's because we both, yeah. And so, you know what I mean? So, and same thing, like I said, with Sage, it's like we're all do it yourself people. And as far as Cardi, I think the one thing that we share is, I guess, again, that entrepreneurial spirit. She tried to go to school, just like she said, and you see how that worked out. She went into stripping, and I commend anybody that's a stripper. I feel like as a woman, to make that sacrifice of the whole vanity aspect and not caring about how you're perceived to the public and to people and going after that bag. I mean, you gotta be real with yourself. Every stripper is pretty much their own company and their own self-made boss. And it's one thing to be a stripper who's just going and collecting her tips, but it's another thing to be a stripper who then transcends and becomes, a marketing genius and realizing that you have a niche and a pocket for being able to talk shit a certain way to where people like it. And now you're getting booked and you're getting your own flyers and you're getting paid a booking fee to come and strip, etc., etc. So,
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because I do feel like, doing that is very difficult. Doing any career, any job, anything is hard, but especially that when you have so many people looking at you and you have to come back every day. And like you said, manage your money. I think a lot of people don't understand. Yeah, they get a lot of money, but if they don't know how to manage it, it's gone.
it's
Just
curtains,
like
yeah.
that. Speaking of the bag, when was the first time you got the bag? And how did
What
you handle that?
what kind of bag are we talking about?
Like, producing. Well, it could be from writing, it could be, anything.
I'll be honest. I don't. If it ain't an M, I don't consider it a bag, and I definitely ain't touch an M yet, so I ain't got the bag.
Really? Okay, you consider it a million. Wow.
Yeah, if it's not a million, it's not a bag, and so I haven't gotten to the bag. Now, if you want to talk about little bags, I've been chasing bags for a long time. Like I said, I was in college. I got a camera. I used to charge people like 50 to $100 just to shoot a three
Mhm.
minute, interview. So I've been getting to the money. I was always a dude who you would never see with the same pair of sneakers on, the same this is the
Nice.
same that. I left my mom's house when I was 19 years old, never went back, never ever ever asked them for money. I give them money if anything. So I've always got to the bag, but
I
I
love
ain't
that.
rich. I just I'm good enough to take care of myself and not have to worry about anything.
Okay, okay. No, I definitely respect that because I always wonder when people get like a large sum of money that they didn't think they would ever have. Like, so let's say, you know, it doesn't have to be a specific amount, but if you got like a large sum of money, like the first time doing music, like what was
hmm
that reaction? Would you say it was college? Like,
Um, I mean that we got to define large sum. You talking 10, 20 bands, 50 bands, like
yeah, okay. And one for doing one job. All right, let's go with 50 bands. Because 50 bands is a lot to do one thing, you
to
know?
do one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I would say honestly, it was just I put it away and act like it wasn't there, and it's just you know what I mean.
Wow, like so you were really like prepared for all of this way beforehand.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a little different. That's why I feel it's very important that you instill all of these things. If you
Hmm.
really want to set your child up and you see that they are into being a creative, they're into being a musician, you want to make sure that they're not just getting the creative part of everything harvested and groomed. You want to groom every aspect of that. Because like I said, I've been touching money since I was 15
Hmm.
years old. So, to go from getting $100 for shooting little vlog videos to getting 300 to getting 500 to getting 1,000, but you're bugging. This is how, trying to break. And it's like, know your audience, know the room. Like, you got to understand who you're talking to. Certain people, you just don't need to say certain things to. Just let it be what it is.
I get that. I definitely get that. That's good advice for a lot of people though, definitely out there. Especially getting into like networking and in different rooms. It's like you have to feel the energy,
Hmm.
you know? Is there any one artist you really want to work with in the future? And if so, who?
Um, Shout out to my guy Jay White, but he definitely inspired me and made me it made it seem a little bit more real. But I would love to work with Beyonce. And he
Mm,
recently just did that Meg Thee Stallion record
I
featuring
love it.
Beyonce. So,
Savage.
yeah, and I was like, okay, you know what? If Jay White can do that, that speaks volumes to me. Like that, it's very possible. So yeah, Beyonce is definitely at the top of my list. Drake, obviously, very at the top of my list. But I say to a lot of people, I really want to make that transition into pop music. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, and we can get into a whole conversation about what is pop music. Technically, anything that makes it to the top 40 is pop, and that can be hip hop, that can be R&B. And it's like, I got into that argument with Party on his live a couple weeks ago. Um, but yeah, I want to work with the pop artists. And what I mean by that is, I would love to do a record with Adele. I would love to do a record with Rihanna, who I consider pop. I would love to do a record with Justin Bieber. Yeah, I just feel it's a bigger bag, and I feel like their music has the ability to just reach a larger market and make more of an impact on the world. So,
I definitely agree with you on that. And I do want to touch in on the pop, but really quick before I segue into the pop thing, I
yeah.
want to get into Get Up 10. The way you did the
Hmm.
build, like the way that beat is. I love that song. Like to be honest, I used to listen to the lyrics and like try to rap it because I was like, oh, this is hard, you know?
Yeah, she's coming from the heart on that one.
Yeah, it's like I felt it, especially when she performed that BET. I was like,
Okay.
wow, I feel the energy. Is that something that you are really into, like a style that you want to keep recreating with artists, like build up records? Or what are your
Um,
thoughts on those?
no, not really. That was more of a situation where we had a record like that. And I tell this story all the time. It's funny. I had originally
Hmm.
made that record for a local artist named Jig Nice. He was like some dude that was making waves in the area, and I had him come through to my studio, and I was like, "Yo, I think this would be a really dope record for your album, like, to intro things." And he had actually started recording to it and everything, but
Wow.
I guess he didn't feel like writing everything on the spot right there. He probably had something to do, so he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get back to this. Send it to me." I actually forgot to send it to him. I apologize, Jig. Um, but what ended up happening is like maybe like 4 months later is when I told you about the everything on my job and just so I ended up being in LA and I was with everybody from the label and everything and they were talking about what they were trying to do for her album and they said, yo, we need a build up record. And I was like, well, actually I got a beat like that, played it instantly, it was like, yeah, let's do this one. So boom. That's how that happened. As far as that being a style that I'm willing to chase, I kind of do enjoy it. Me being a more classically trained musician, I do have an appreciation for ballads and the art that these people have to be able to sing and present melodies. And I even appreciate lyrically what they're bringing because it's different, but it
Hmm.
definitely doesn't follow that scientific, classic, well thought out, deep writing technique that goes into pop and the same thing even with the musical production, that real musical artistry that goes into pop music.
You know, and I love the fact you said that because I'll go back in time like Kelly Clarkson because like those songs they like make you want to cry. Like there could be nothing wrong with you. It's
Hmm.
just all of a sudden like even TLC, some of their songs I feel like was going like in that pop lane and they live forever.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the other thing too. It's like we go back to that argument where it's like, what is pop? Pop technically is defined as any music that is popular, right? Now
Mm,
it that can be any array of musical styles. To me, I feel like what really embodies pop is when, again, you find that great writing, that it's catchy, it's simple enough, but it's not lacking depth, right? So, like you said, TLC, you know, Britney Spears, "I'm a Slave for You," all these
yes.
different has a topic. It but the beat style isn't pop. And when people say pop, that's why I do this like this, because like they're usually talking about like EDM stuff that goes poof, poof.
Right.
But that's EDM. That's not pop necessarily. There might be some popular EDM songs, but Britney's "I'm a Slave for You," that's like funk music. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, that's a direct sample of Vanity Six's Nasty Boy, which was produced by one of the best funk rock producers of our time, R.I.P. Prince. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, eh.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we're getting into the different genres that's out there because I do feel like a lot of times it is interconnected and more people are starting to not want to be categorized. I especially hear it too in hip hop. Like now, I feel like with country, even mixing country and hip hop together. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that was huge. Like, I feel like some people hated it, but then the masses loved it.
You know what's crazy? Country artists vocally, they've been singing their ass off for they've been singing their ass off. It's like country music usually is going to come from the country as far as the United States is concerned, the
Hmm.
southern parts, which is traditionally going to be Christian, Episcopal, Baptist, and then I don't know if you're familiar, but I don't know what religion you are, but anything, but Baptist, Southern Baptist music is very soulful. It's
Yeah.
extremely soulful. So you have these white country artists that are singing their ass off like you would get from, a black soul artist. So I already took to country because of that. I would listen to, yo, this nigga's singing for real. Like he's even hitting runs and all of that. It's like you just got to get used to the music that's backing behind it. But I think it's beautiful that you can take that and you can mesh it with something like hip hop, something like trap, because I don't consider what's happening now to be hip hop. Hip hop to me is that '90s
Hmm.
golden era rap. I consider like J. Cole, most of his work to be hip hop. I think, like Little Nas X, Old Town Road, that's trap music
Yeah.
and country music coming together, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see more of it.
That's dope. And I'm really excited to hear that because honestly, when I first heard it, I was like, I'm not sure what I'm listening to, but I like it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was like a very good thing, but I was confused. And I'll be honest. So one thing that I'm always curious to know, like let's say you're a regular person, right? And all of a
Hmm.
sudden you write music. I think a lot of people write music because it helps them feel good inside,
Hmm.
or they feel like they can create a beat because they see a lot of people do it. I know things came for you naturally, but do you have any advice to anybody out there who's like, "Hey, how do I submit a song or what's the best thing to do?"
So like I said earlier,
Hmm.
there's no wrong, there's really no wrong way to go about it. I mean, you have so many different options and avenues. So
Yeah.
I'll say this first: how you go about submitting and getting your name up as a writer or a producer, it comes down to what you're comfortable with. If you're someone who is okay with being in the spotlight and okay with having, the attention of the room on you or the attention of your peers on you, then I would say very simply, make your beats for the public. Go live, make beats on your live,
Hmm.
put together videos of you in the studio and making your beats from scratch and just throw it up on your Instagram and on Twitter and put a little money behind it, get it promoted, learn how to work, search engine optimization and hashtags and figure out what you need to hop on to get, a little buzz going around what you're doing. And I think if you're talented, it'll naturally just go. But to be a little bit more competitive with the many talented producers that are already doing that, you got to have a little bit of a gimmick, as they like to say. You got to have something that's going
Hmm.
to make them tune in on you. Not everybody's going to be able to throw the Grammy winning thing out there or the plaque thing out there. So maybe, fuck it, maybe you take a marker and put a little red mark here and your producer red mark. Guess what? Producer red mark, you're probably going to blow up with that. You know what I mean? Or maybe you cut one
Yeah.
eyebrow off and you're DJ one brow, but you got to have a gimmick. You got to have something that makes you stand out if your talent isn't like blow us out of the water talent, which is very hard to find these days. So I'm probably going to say it's not if you're listening to this or if you see this. Um, so yeah, that's one way. If you're not okay with being that and you're more of a recluse and more of an introvert, then just make your beats, make sure they're very dope, and reach out to someone who is okay with being in the spotlight. And if that person happens to be a rapper, then have that rapper get on your beats and work with all the people that are around you. There's a lot of rappers out here that don't like getting their beats from YouTube. They want that customization. They want
Hmm.
to have somebody make their beats for them, and they want to give somebody to speak. Hold on, my other AirPod just died.
Okay, no problem. I was like, wow, it sounds different.
um, ton of ways to navigate and build your resume and get out there. I would definitely say though, any producer, work with the people in your area. Work with the people in your area because one, you might break an artist, as we say, meaning you might take somebody local to you and they might have a very successful song. And guess what happens? Just like Jay White with Bodak Yellow, he broke Cardi B as far as being a producer is concerned. So when that song took off, people were looking for another Bodak Yellow. He had everybody in the
Mm.
industry coming to him, yo, I want a Bodak Yellow. Now, Bodak Yellow could have been just like any other beat, but the fact that it was Bodak Yellow and you were the producer that made that, you're going to get all the opportunities in the world. So again, as a producer, work with the people that are local to you. Work with the people that want to work with you because you never know. You never know what that person's going to end up doing. And if nothing else, you'll end up like me, who I didn't necessarily produce a Bodak Yellow, but me working with these people, I was able to gather a whole lot of skills that are going to pay me a lot of money for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. And last but not least, I always like to ask people, what is next for you? Or what do you foresee in your future?
I the businessman, the entrepreneur, the tech, the nerd in me, I'm always looking at trends and I'm always looking to see what's going on, whether it be in the gaming community, in the music community, in the tech community, in the political community. Like I honestly, in the foreseeable future, and I can't put a date on it or a time limit on it, but I definitely see myself somehow leaving my stamp in the tech market with no
Mm.
matter, and I don't know what industry or culture it's going to help or affect, but I see myself making my stamp in the tech market. I don't know if that means I'm going to make an app. I don't know if that means I'm going to make the next this company, that company, whatever it is, but I've always got my ears and eyes open and I've always got ideas flowing. But as far as the immediate future, I got a couple of artists. I got a guy named Brex that I'm working with right now that I think I'm about to sign over to my label. Very talented dude, extremely talented. Once again, from this area. We're gonna work on his album. Gonna shoot him out. I still got Sage English. We're putting in hard work out here. I see him making major waves in the visual industry as well as in the musician and artistry aspect of things. I'm doing a whole lot of production work for a lot of big albums. I was trying to I'm not even gonna sit here and start name dropping. You can already imagine, but still doing the production thing, still doing the writing thing. Yeah, just gonna continue to be Swanko, doing a million different things at once.
Oh my God, I love that. And tech is huge. Money, always, always. There are a few artists in my live. Shout out to everybody in my live, by the way.
Yeah, thank
If
you
they,
everybody for tuning in, and whoever was in here the whole time. I appreciate you listening to me run my mouth.
yes, thank you. No, oh my God, you gave like so much knowledge. For artists that would love, I know there's so many out there that would love to get signed by you. What's the best way to go about that approach to even get in your ear so you can hear their music?
I'll be honest. I get a lot of DMs and a lot of emails every day with music, but I listen to a majority of it because that's just the type
Wow.
of person I am. Like, and I don't care how big I get, like, unless it's literally impossible for me to listen to everything, I'm always gonna listen to what's being sent to me because I've had some people send me some artists that have blown me away. I'm like, yo, this dude's better than everybody that's out right now. Like, but and I've been honest with them, like, yo, I'm not even in a position to give this person what they deserve. Like, that's how dope they are. But yeah, just DM. Make sure your approach though is not generic. You'll have a much easier time if, like I said, you got something that makes you stand out. And that's not just for me. That's like anybody like me in this industry. If you have something that's gonna make you stand out, do that and you'll be much more successful in getting people's ears and eyes on your stuff.
That's epic. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
No
all of
problem.
this. You've helped me a lot. Like a lot of things you said, I'm like, I'm keeping this, especially that three times thing. If I can't buy it three times, I am never looking at anything
You
else I
don't need
can't
it.
buy.
Yeah, you don't need it. Like, and oh, that's another. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. My
Oh no, I
my
love it.
boy, my boy told me. I think it's a quote from Diddy that I added on top of my three thing. Um, no matter what it is that you want to buy right now, they're always gonna have a better version of it within a year or so.
Wow.
So it's like if you can't get it three times and you feel bad, like, damn, I really want this, just tell yourself, yeah, I'll get it when there's a better version of it anyway.
Wow. That is so real, especially with the iPhones, like everything. You're absolutely right.
iPhone, sneakers, clothes, car, house, tech, anything you could sit here and name, there's going to be a better version of it in about a year. And that's the one you can get. And if
Wow.
not, you'll get the one 2 years from now. Fuck it.
Yo, that's huge. Like seriously, thank you so much. Like I
No
can't
problem.
wait to like post this and everybody can see it. Everybody that's not on the live. Like seriously. Yeah, but I appreciate your time so much. Like thank you again.
No problem. I thank you for having me. And this is one of the best interviews I've done. I think your questions and your flows superior. You're amazing. Sakara, right? That's how I pronounce it.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And you said it right.
Awesome, Sakara, definitely. I see nothing but great things from you. Can I ask you some questions before we
Oh
go though?
yeah, absolutely. We have 1 minute and 19 seconds, but absolutely.
Minute 19. Okay. What do you do?
Oh yes, okay. So I do a little bit of videography. I also have a website. So I started doing videography and photography because I would go to concerts and I wanted to make sure that the website was valid.
Hmm.
And I've always wanted to be like Lala. So I saw her on TRL and I was like, that's what I want to do for a living. And yeah, that was basically it.
Okay. What are some notable things that you've done and people that you've worked with in brands?
Yeah, so I started out interning at Bad Boy Records, and from there I started working as a freelance production assistant for BET. Then I started working with Ciroc, which is really dope. Right now I work with Quibi. I work as a production assistant on the show called The Nod.
Ooh,
And thank you. I've done some videos for like people like Sexy Glexy, and I've gone to plenty of album release parties, and people actually post them on their Instagram.
very
And
dope.
yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
No problem.
Man, I said we gon' win. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. Look myself in the mirror, I said we gon' win.